Yeah, is it? Yeah, in today's spectacle, we'll be looking straight talk on what we call the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Are we succeeding against corruption, or corruption is still fighting back at us? Of course, you know that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, one of the cogent reason he was voted for into office was the fight against corruption of all kinds that of course crippled the nation over a long period of time. Today, we'll be looking into that, and is an audience participatory one, where of course you can contribute your own opinion to the program. I am your host, Daniel Atai. I won't be doing this alone. My in-house analyst will be doing justice to some of your questions and contributions here. Talking about Mr. Lawrence Audu. Mr. Lawrence, you are welcome to Spectacle.
It's a great pleasure. Happy to be here again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the numbers to call for audience participation are 081 3701 5949 or 070 5432 7616 as displayed on the screen. So, Mr. Lawrence, the fight against corruption is one of the reasons President Buhari was voted into office. Are we succeeding?
Thank you very much for that question. Before President Muhammadu Buhari was elected or voted into power in 2015, Nigeria, in the past administration, was operating a fake economy, in the sense that everything seemed plastic. You had a system where humongous corruption, carting away of the nation's wealth, was the order of the day. And in the midst of this, there was a large outcry by Nigerians wanting to see a change in the order of things. At the time, there were, when the agitation was loudest, they looked at this general who had no skeleton in his cupboard.
Are you sure?
And they decided that, look, this is the man we want to
bring on board
to help us fight corruption to a standstill and return the country to a steady pedestal.
Okay.
Now back to your question. 4 years gone, the second tenure just began a few months way back.
Yeah.
We have seen consistency in the fight against corruption. But corruption and corrupt people are very powerful. Corruption has to do with the movement of, huge chunks of money, from Nigeria, abroad, and what have you. But you have a situation now that it has become almost impossible, to operate a corrupt system.
Okay.
I was just reading on the news a while ago where the head of service was Mrs. Oyoita.
Yes.
Was accused of
3 billion.
3 billion fraud. She saw that if she decides to stay put, it will be difficult for her. She's offering to retire.
No.
We saw the case of Adeosun.
Okay.
Where is she today?
She resigned.
So many other cases. Don't forget the fact that before now, ministries, parastatals, departments, and agencies had, this
Technical ways of
inflating and managing their resources
budgets.
and budget, and then it was coated with a lot of corruption. Today, every single kobo that goes to the government coffer passes through the TSA, the Treasury Single Account. You had cases where somebody comes and tells you that 32 million naira or thereabout was swallowed up by snake. In Kano, they told you that the gorilla swallowed chunks of, I mean, these are flimsy, corrupt cases that you know. Today, you don't even have, these parastatals don't even need to keep money with them. If you want to do any business with them, if it's parastatal that generates fund, you pay into the federation account. Now, these people don't have access to this. No. So it has reduced to a barest minimum the level of corruption. So I would say, without fear of contradiction, that the war against corruption is yielding fruit.
Okay, Nigerians are actually, from some quarters and some analysts, are of the opinion that it is not enough to recover funds from criminals, especially financial crimes. Of course, we have several bodies fighting corruption. We have the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, the EFCC. We have the Independent Corrupt Practices and ICPC, other related ICPC Crime Commission. Of recent, the president have also given the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit an assignment to oversee joint account of states and local government. We have the SERA. So these bodies, we have so many bodies fighting corruption, but indictment, is it enough to resign, or one sometimes should be prosecuted for crime?
No, in the case of, if anyone who goes to equity must go with a clean hand. So, if a group has alleged that she's indeed corrupt, or she's involved in a corrupt, or they're alleged to have, she's involved in corruption, the best thing to do is to just stand aside and wait until you are proven innocent. You cannot continue to remain there. I think she's just done the honorable thing. Okay,
talking about the ITA.
Yes. I mean, resignation is just part of it. If your image is dented, you have no business sitting down there, because we're working towards, operating a clean slate. Many Nigerians will say, look, the president is telling us we have recovered so amounts of money from here and there. Where is the money? This, and that. Don't forget that there are so many interventions that the federal government, has been involved in recently. There are so many developmental projects going on. Salaries are being paid. Right?
We're talking about salaries, not in all the states. Of course, the president is doing well by, releasing this fund through the Federal Revenue Allocation and Fiscal Commission to states. Various states, are collecting this money every month. But it is not all the governors who are actually paying this money to their civil servants and public servants.
The states, and the civil servants in those states.
Hold on. In that case, what is it autocratic on the side of the governors if there are bodies fighting this crime and the federal allocation release money to a state to fund civil servants' salaries, arrears, pensions, gratuities, severances, and so on, and this money are still held back by these governors? What do you think in that regard on the side of the fight against corruption?
Unfortunately, you have a system where governors in states have immunity from prosecution.
Okay.
So if a governor has immunity, how do you prosecute him? It's unfortunate if, of course, we know that from the Federation, monies have been released for salaries to be paid, for infrastructural development to take place in states. But unfortunately, you don't find these things happening in some states of the Federation. Some have gone to the point that they have even spent even more than what the government is giving them.
Yes. Some have gone to loan exits.
To be able to, meet up the infrastructural and service deficits in their states. But some other states are just lackadaisical. They are not bothered.
No.
They keep complaining at the slightest provocation. They tell you, they bring up one narrative or the other, just to sway sentiment. But the truth must be told. The people in the state should begin to ask questions.
But even if they ask questions, like you said, immunity on several quarters, civil society groups.
It gets to a point where you can actually get to, to carry out civil disobedience. A worker must be paid his dues.
It is even biblical.
It's biblical in all the scriptures. In fact, in the glorious Quran, it is un-Islamic to deny somebody who has worked his wage. And the Bible too has the same injunction. So, if your governor is not paying you, your local government chairman is hoarding your money, you have the right to cry out, and the appropriate sanctions will be meted. The federal government might decide to, let's freeze the account and pay these guys directly, just like President Buhari is doing now with the local government funding. He's paying them. Have you heard? Just today, a local government chairman from Benue State was in Abuja and signed an MOU. He's already taking refuse disposable trucks down to his locality to be able to, clean up the city and be able to do some infrastructural development. That may not just be enough.
I don't want to go into Benue issue. Benue Kogi issue. I know that things are not properly.
No, I'm just drawing.
All right, there. As a matter of fact, we have. Don't forget that I'm a journalist and I can do my findings. We have a lot of evidence inducting some treasurers, local government treasurers in Benue who are already going against the NFIU policies.
I have not mentioned. I have not mentioned. Please just hold on for me.
Go ahead.
I have not mentioned the state. I just give an example.
Yeah.
It is true that a lot of things are going on that are not, they are not right. But all I'm saying is, in the past, you never had a situation where a local government boss can come and negotiate for anything outside the purview of his jurisdiction.
Exactly.
This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that they have not gone beyond the NFIU jurisdiction or what have you. I'm not here to make a case for any of them. I'm not friends. I do not, subscribe to what a lot of them are doing, and I'm very critical about it. But again, if you have a system that works, a system that has given you financial autonomy, you're able to do a lot of things. Now, if they are doing some things, we should be able to tell them that, look, what you are doing is right. We must demand for more.
Via civil actions.
Yes. What you have done, is it commensurate to the monies you have been given? These are the questions that we expect Nigerians to be asking. Not at every given opportunity, you are slighting the president or the people at the top. The guys around you, your counselor, what has he done? Has he been able to influence the repair of the culvert in your area? Has he been able to the barest minimum, being able to afford to give you simple chemical in his ward that people are able to use to spray their farms? These are the questions we should be asking. And if we begin to ask these questions, it goes to the top. Then again, you have the state executives who are not, doing the right thing, and they hide under the cover of immunity, and they have some people that pay, to blog and tell stories and tell lies on their behalf. We need to come out of our shell, to begin to say, look, guys, enough of all these things. And thankfully, some states, press people, today they make posts. At the end of the day, you just get to see 3 comments and about 4 likes or thereabout. It shows that they are losing credibility.
Of course.
And if they do not begin to get back into themselves to be able to project purposefully the ideals that the people who have voted them for, the yearnings and aspirations of these people, then it becomes an indictment on their part, and it's in no distant time we are going to begin to see all this.
Do you think that immunity, the governor's immunity, is a strong factor against the fight against corruption?
It is a major factor.
Is a major factor.
It is a major factor. For instance, when Buhari granted local government autonomy, he had a meeting with some of the local government, the treasurers, and he said, if you like, when I release this money, if you like, carry it and go and give to your governors. When EFCC or the anti-graft agencies come after you, don't shout victimization.
But for instance, thank you for that point you just raised. The government have put in place all these mechanisms and the anti-corruption bodies. Again, do you think that this particular body could be corrupt itself?
It is possible, so long as you are dealing with human beings. You cannot rule out corruption. In fact, Nigeria is not even the most corrupt nation in the world. So long as humans are involved, if we do not begin to change our mentality, to begin to reorientate ourselves positively, to be able to look at, okay, look, do we dwell on corruption as a means of survival? Why don't we begin to look at, okay, what are the dangers of corruption? How do we avert corruption? How do we make the society...
How do we actually avert it completely or to the barest minimum? You said it has come to the barest minimum.
Yes.
But is there any penalty in this country, for corrupt practices?
There are penalties.
Are they severe?
But to be very honest with you,
yes,
we need more stringent measures.
That is it.
But if you want to look at it from the level at which things have gone, you see, democracy and the rule of law provides that, makes it very difficult to really prosecute people the way you want. The president has said it repeatedly that, look, when I was younger, when I was in the military, when I was in uniform, I could pick up anybody who I deem corrupt or who has been suspected to be corrupt, who has actually participated in corruption. I could deal with such person, but this time around my hands are tied.
So in a case, democracy even aids corruption?
To a large extent, it shields, not like it aids, it shields, because people cry for fundamental human rights. You understand? When you pick up somebody, there are several injunctions. People go to court, they bring up injunction and tell you that, look, you cannot prosecute this person. And it slows down the system. Normally, like in a country like China, for instance, where it's a communist state, as it happens, the moment you don't even have any form of appeal, you are going to the gallows straight. If we begin to have such kind of system, of course, human rights people will cry out and say, look, this is too, way off and all that. Undemocratic and what have you. But corruption, if we do not come to understand that it is the biggest threat to national security, then we have yet to begin.
Exactly. Yes, a threat to national security, even a threat to humanhood. Talking about daily livelihood of citizens, because you have cadres of citizens and you have tiers of government, like you were coming from the angle of local government financial autonomy, just granted is a policy, is a fiat policy, or let me say exclusive legislative policy of Mr. President. And at that tier, you see a lot of dilapidation or at the local government level, unlike the state level and the federal level. Do you think this body, NFIU, for instance, that have come, to join the fight against corruption with EFCC and ICPC, is poised enough to deal with local government finances?
You see, why you need to clearly define the terms of reference or the terms of operations of the anti-graft agency, including the NFIU, you also need to empower the NFIU to be able to enforce with immediate effect, to enforce the provisions, to enforce their terms of reference, so that there is no, interagency rivalry or whatever you want to call it. EFCC does their own part, ICPC does their own part, and the NFIU, they do their own. So as it stands, you need to empower the NFIU, okay? Give them more powers to be able to prosecute with immediate effect without wasting further time. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you have that, people who already are thinking of going the other way around will retrace their steps.
All right, Mr. Lawrence, thank you for that wonderful contribution. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be taking your calls. Remember, the numbers are displayed on your screen. You can participate live into this program and contribute your quotas. Stay tuned.
Of the North Central Nigeria with its raw mix of cultures, treasures, and amazing people. Based in the vibrant glory of the beauty of nature with striking landscapes. Connects the best from agriculture, commerce and entrepreneurship. Put in a mix of local politics and governance from a resourceful people with amazing lifestyles, and you are right in the center of the northern Nigeria. North Central Journal, a compendium of people, places, news and views, all in an amazing mix that bears it all. Only on Television Nigerian.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's still Spectacle, and of course today we are still looking at the fight against corruption. Are we succeeding? Are we making headway, or the corruption is fighting back at us? And with me in the studio is Lawrence Audu, doing justice to this very topic. Mr. Lawrence, before we went on break, we discussed about the immunity and how democracy also, to some extent, delay the fight against corruption. Now, this institution of democracy, the judiciary, do you think is helping the fight against corruption in Nigeria?
You see, the judiciary arm of government is one government that needs to be, the focus of the searchlight more, especially in this last batch of President Muhammadu Buhari's regime.
Okay.
There are so many people awaiting trial in the prisons, and the judiciary, speedy trial is necessary.
Okay, for corrupt cases.
Yes, for corrupt cases. You
and
have so many,
and probably sentences.
and probably sentences. Industrial courts also, should be able to up their game, to be able to resolve disputes, and as well as sanction those who have erred as a matter of fact. So speedy trial is the key factor.
Talking about the industrial court, where civil servants and some public servants, go to lodge their complaint against state government, since the governors have immunities, and you find out that some cases have lasted even, a call is coming in, lasted even 4, 3, 5 years. Let's pick this call. Hello.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Kenneth on the line.
Yeah, Kenneth, Mr. Kenneth, you are live on TVN, and we are discussing the topic, the fight against corruption. Are we succeeding?
Yes, I just joined in the program, but since it's a fight against corruption, I think even without listening to the program, I'll have something to contribute.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, the fight against corruption in this country, we are not winning it at all. Because the fight is selected.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons.
What do you mean the fight is selected or is selective?
It's selective.
Okay.
You put it that way. It's selective. Because I think those in government, those in power rather, and we, the masses, maybe those people would think that they are into corruption. The people who are in power, they don't look at it that way.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
So the fight against corruption will be very difficult for we as the people in power to succeed in this country. Because you find out that those people who have fingers to be into this corruption are those people that still help some of this government in power to come into power. To me, someone who is corrupted assist me in becoming maybe a senator or a governor. You see, it will be very difficult for me to fight him.
Okay, so what is your solution to the fight against corruption? What do you think? What solution would you want to proffer?
Okay, if I'm part of the solution I will proffer, honestly, I don't even have anything to say about that, honestly.
It's okay. Thank you for your wonderful contribution.
So the fight against corruption, we'll just be hearing it on radio, on news, so person has been indicted, so person has been arrested for corruption. They only make the noise later, you don't hear what is happening again. Go to the back, they do all their normal things. So I think the fight against corruption will be very difficult to be.
Okay, Kenneth, you are calling from where?
Gualada.
It's okay. Thank you for calling, and your opinion is taken. Thank you.
If I may react quickly to what Mr. Kenneth just said.
We just have 3 minutes.
Yeah, we were talking about some of these challenges.
Yeah, the delay in court, especially the industrial court,
and then the political dimension to these things. All right, somehow, no matter how corrupt someone is, the person helps you to get into office.
Yes.
You want to fight the person. Sometimes you would prefer that someone else does it.
Exactly.
In most cases, there are this moral issue that comes in, but that is not to say that when you're fighting corruption, everyone, it doesn't matter whose ox is called.
There are a kind of compromise in.
Sometimes, yeah, of course, there are some compromises, but you would also agree that
like
even
in the industrial court and
let's just talk about. Let's look at the general.
They compromise.
No. Let's look at generally now. As we talk to you, about 2 or 3 governors, Jonah Jang is standing trial. Joshua Dare of Plateau State, former governor of Plateau State, a member of the ruling PDP, is in prison. And a whole lot of that. Babaji Lawal, maybe some people will say.
And some people say it's selective, like Kenneth just said.
You cannot just say it's selective. Look at these people. They are top people, very powerful in the government, but they are gone. So you ask him a question, what is the solution?
He said
he doesn't have any solution. So we will just keep going round.
Probably from the angle you came from, that democracy sometimes prevent, stringent
because these people have
penalties.
rights. These people have rights. It's not the military regime where you can just incarcerate anybody, accuse a person of corruption. He has rights. This is why the judiciary must expedite action, speedy trial, and get some things done quickly.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lawrence. I think that will be all on Spectacle today, and we will be bringing this very topic again in the nearest future. Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget, Spectacle is still open for sponsorship. And of course, we can take in your scorecard, your spectacular performances, and your blueprints. Once again, I'm your host, Daniel Atai. Thanks for watching.